I am so excited. I'm speaking on behalf of our entire Meg Tucker's book club and everyone on the planet who has had a chance to read this incredible book. We are joined, what a treat, once again by the amazing JT Ellison. We are talking your book, Good Girls
Good girls
Life.
love.
Hello, beautiful.
Hi. It's so good to be back.
It's so good to be back. We are taping this on March the 13th, Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. Actually, something good always happens on Friday the 13th. So
I turned 13 on a Friday the 13th and 13
nice.
on a Friday. I'm a 13 kid, so I'm good with it.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, it's one of my good luck numbers. So
Awesome. Yes. So we are just thrilled to have you back. I was so excited to read this book. You were so gracious. You gave away a few that you signed. So thank you to our crowd.
sure, no problem.
And now that we can finally talk cats out of the bag, oh my God, this is a good book.
I'm so glad you liked it.
Let's talk reception. It's been out now for a little bit. So what has the reception been like for Good Girls Lie?
I think it landed really, really well. I'm surprised. I'm always surprised when people like a book.
Okay.
I'm in a perpetual state of you liked it? Oh,
Well,
good. That's great.
You're humble.
Well, it's we're artists. We're always shocked when somebody likes our stuff.
Sure.
But it's it seems to have landed well, and a lot of people really have enjoyed it, and that makes me so happy. So happy. So this is the story of Ash Carlisle. She is a young British girl from Oxford, England, who sadly has just lost her parents in a murder-suicide. And they are incredibly wealthy. They had already made provisions for her to attend a elite academy in the Blue Ridge Mountains called the Good School, good with an E.
Right.
And she doesn't want to go, obviously, but she doesn't have any place else to be. And she's lost everything. And so she goes to Virginia and tries to start over and start a new life at this school. And, that's hard for a 16-year-old. That's a difficult position. It's a difficult time in your life anyway, to have lost everything. So everything is going pretty well. And then a teacher dies, and then people start to die, and then and then all bets are off. And I really wanted to explore the idea of a teenage girl going from revered to reviled.
Ooh.
And that is definitely the arc that she takes. And so it addresses bullying, it addresses secret societies, and some of the things that girls will do to be popular and to each other to try to rise on the social chain. But it's a bigger story than that, because it's a JT Ellison book, so there's more going on.
There is a lot more going on, and we certainly, when we post these interviews, put a little bit of a spoiler at the top to say that if you haven't quite gotten to the end, wait until. So we are free to talk about it all.
Oh, good.
Good. First of all, in our last chat, you mentioned girl crush Blake Lively. This is Blake Lively. I can just tell. It's supposed to be, right?
It sure looks like her. They totally blew me away with this cover. Oh. They, we've had every book has its own little challenges. The cover was not one of them for this. When they sent me that, I was like, do it immediate. I mean, that is the perfect cover.
The perfect cover.
It could not be better.
This has to be made a movie. Has there been swirlings, any discussion? This has to be a movie. You're smiling. This is getting
no comment.
Oh my God. I'll take it.
No comment. I went to Randolph-Macon Women's College in Lynchburg, Virginia, which at the time, it's now gone co-ed, to my everlasting disappointment, because
I feel it too. I read all about it.
Yeah, I addressed that in my author's note. They gave us so many tools to work in the world as women, and so much of what they taught us kind of went by the wayside when they went co-ed.
Mm.
But that's, that's neither here nor there. The school is single sex, and it was a really wonderful experience for me. It was also haunted. The campus was haunted. It was a boarding school college,
Yeah.
in that we all had to live on campus in the building. So we'd have classes on the bottom floors, and our dorms were above. So it was very much like a boarding school.
Yeah.
Only if you were married were you allowed to live off campus.
Okay.
So it was a really interesting insular environment. There was a lot of drama, a lot of incredibly intelligent women. It was an amazing experience, and I've always wanted to set a book at a fictional version of the school, which I did. I mean, this is a very fictionalized version
Sure.
of Macon. It brings in also elements of Chapel Hill, University of North
Okay.
Carolina, Chapel
Yep.
Hill, which I visited, and I pulled parts from there. I pulled parts from Hampton Sydney and W&L and all the Hollins and Sweetbriar, all the schools around Macon. Everybody has a little bit in this. And it's technically like in Wintergreen, which is not Lynchburg. It's a fictionalized place for sure. But it was haunted. Oh my gosh, it was so haunted. So haunted.
The little snippets that you read about the myths and maybe this is haunted or this happened in that stairwell. Did you have the stairwell in your college?
We did. And we had the curly cues you were only seniors were allowed to walk on the curly cues, or else you wouldn't graduate. You were only allowed to go up odds and evens. Odds and evens was a huge thing. So that I pulled that in.
Really?
Oh yeah. We had so many rules. If you walked through the tower, I forget the name of the tower, if you walked through there, you would never get engaged, but you could walk around it. You had to go there. If you walked in there with a guy, you would get engaged to him. Just all these little weird traditions and silliness and everything.
Right.
But genuinely, I was my sophomore year, I lived on the third floor of main hall. And there was a staircase right outside my room that went up to what we called the beanbag room,
Sure.
which is the commons in the book.
Yep.
But the commons doesn't have an extra, that's it. That's the only way in or out. And we would lay in bed, my roommate and I would lay in bed, and we would hear steps. We would hear furniture being dragged. We'd hear all this stuff. And so we would immediately go out and perch at the bottom of the stairs trying to see who was coming down, and nobody would ever come down. And so we would go up and the room would be empty. And that happened all the time. So the place was totally, the theater is haunted by the boyfriend of a girl who he died on the way coming to see her in the play. Just all kinds of crazy stories. There was, though, in all seriousness, a murder on campus of a girl who had been a townie, as everybody calls it when they actually live in the town of a college. Had been stalking her, and he eventually came on campus and murdered her. And she haunts the path back and forth behind Martin Hall, and they call her the purple clog girl. She was wearing purple clogs when she got killed, and you can hear footsteps.
No.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't go back there.
You have heard steps?
Oh yeah. It's this place is genuinely haunted. Plus, there's a lot of Civil War stuff around there. We were part of the Underground Railroad at a point, and there are tunnels, there are empty places. There is no arboretum that I stole from Chapel Hill, but
okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And of course, it didn't burn to the ground at the end, like in your.
No, thank God.
Ay. Oh my God.
I know. It was the idea of the mad women in the attic, right? So this is very Jane Eyre-ish for me.
Yes.
You get the mad woman in the attic, but they're all the girls, the crazy girls that are doing all of these things. And
this book brought up it just affected me so much when I was reading. It was like haunting, like haunted, but it was haunting. And that scene at the end before the epilogue, like at the end when you look up and then she says, just let it burn. Just
Let it burn.
let it burn.
It's cursed.
Just see, and then seeing her in the window and like it was a lot. It was a lot. And I thought, you know what, it could end there. And then you go to read the very end where it's 11 years later. That for me, and I know, and I've read reviews of your book, that ending, the very, very ending on the plane, is one of the best endings of a thriller book.
Thank you. Thank you. That makes me feel very happy.
Unbelievable ending, like tragic, but oh.
The problem was I knew the ending while I was writing the book, which
What,
never happens to me. I never know the end. I always have, I always stay away from the ending because I want it to happen organically and unfold. And, you know, I've had books, God, stop touching your face, JT. I'm going to sit on my hands because I'm touching my face. I've had books that I was 97,000 words and I didn't know who did it. You know, it's truly, I genuinely like to wait to know what the very end's going to be. This one, I knew right at the beginning what the ending was going to be.
Do you wait to let yourself then say, okay, for the next 10 minutes, it's just going to come to me? Or do you, when you say you might get all the way to the end and you don't know yet, do you have to come up with it? Or does it just go, oh?
It usually is an oh. You've seeded, your subconscious has seeded the story so well that it's there when you get there. It's there. It meets you where it needs to be. Now, you know, sometimes it's 75,000 words. And I'm like, I know how I'm going to end this. You know, sometimes it's right at the very, very end. And I'm just like, ugh. Sometimes the ending changes in editorial. You know, it's just certainly, it's just one of those things. This one, though, this was a short story I was working on for another project. And I mean, I was only 10, 15,000 words in when I went, oh my gosh, that's the end of this book. Okay, so what do I do? How do I do that and not give it away? And, you know, and I ended up having to go back. I was like 70,000 words in. I had to go back and change everything to first person to make sure that I didn't give it away.
Okay, that hurts my head thinking about.
Oh, it hurted mine too. It broke me.
How many words in a book?
That one's about 107,000.
107,000.
Yeah. So I was at 80,000 when I had to go back and change all that. Yeah.
That's you doing it. That's not a team of people. That's you.
Oh gosh, no. No, that's me. That's me. And it was, I had already realized, I'm like, the book wasn't working. The book wasn't working because I was so terrified I was telegraphing the end that I kind of just got stuck.
Okay.
And that, you know, that's always kind of, it happens. That happens. It happened with Tear Me Apart.
It worked because I didn't know. There were moments where I thought, could this be? But I never figured out the twist. So explain the twist. Again, people have read it, so I want to hear it from you.
Ash is not Ash. Ash is a completely different person. She is related to the real Ash, who is a complete psychopath. She's a sociopathic teenage girl. I remember sending a friend of mine a note saying, do you think anybody will believe a 16-year-old could actually plot this up? And she was like, have you ever met a 16-year-old? And I was like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
that's a good statement. All right, I'll go with that. It was, so she wants out. She wants her inheritance. She wants to be free. She don't want to go to school. She wants to do what she wants. And her parents are trying to do right by her, but her father's incredibly abusive. And that creates that dynamic. You know, you can't ever escape that dynamic if you've got an abusive parent. So she cooks up a way to have Alexandria Pine, who is her real name, take her place and go to school, because all Alex wants to do is get an education and get out. right?
Out
She's
of her
poor.
situation.
Right. She's in a totally opposite situation. Her mother's a drug addict. She's got no money. She wants nothing more than to actually get out into the world and have an education and do something with her life, versus Ash, who just doesn't want anybody,
Right.
she just wants to do her own thing.
Right.
She wants to go float around, the Adriatic on a yacht, whatever. So she cooks up this plan. They look enough alike that they can pull this off. And as it turns out, they are sisters, but Alex doesn't know that, or I'm sorry, Ash doesn't know that when she's cooking up this plot. She finds that out. And it all has to do with the inheritance and, this whole thing that she has to go to school to get her inheritance. This is a great way to get out of that, right? They swap. She goes to school, and then obviously in the big twist, they find out that he's left half his estate to Alex. She didn't have to go through all this. They didn't have to kill him. It's not something that had to be done. And Alex is complicit in this, certainly, but she's not the one that actually does it.
Right.
So that's, but there are other things that happen to her along the way that, are you made or are you born? She does some pretty bad things. She poisons the teacher. Was that on accident or was that on purpose?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because when I got to the very end and we learn the whole twist, I, in my brain, went back and thought, wait a minute, okay, wait, that's why she couldn't really play piano, but then the chocolates. And I thought, but did she? So that's interesting. Was that a choice? Was she just caught up in the role?
I truly will not answer that. That is something for the readers to figure out for themselves and decide for themselves. Do you believe her? Knowing what happened in the end, knowing what she's capable of. Anybody's capable of protecting themselves in that situation. Did she do it or did she not? And that's, that's one of those open-ended things. I know the answer to that, but I'm not going to answer it because I think it's more fun for you guys as readers to answer that for yourselves.
Is that hard as an author? Is that difficult to keep those really deep nuggets to yourself?
No.
I know in
No,
I know
it's not hard at all.
In any job or any career, there might be pieces that my husband knows, but nobody else knows,
Sure.
But that's fun. That must be fun for you.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like, I don't want, even in a standalone, I wrote series for so long and there were always threads to be pulled.
Yes.
Those are things that, those are the kinds of things that my film agent likes to call what happens in season 2. They're elements that you have to have that can be expanded on. And so not answering every question works. It works for me.
The very last scene when they're on the plane was, how long did that take you to come up with? Was that?
Well, I knew that this was, so the original short story was a girl who got on the plane and the guy next to her had abused her when she was young, and she impulsively kills him by grinding up the pills and putting it in the wine, right? So that was the original idea for that short story. So I knew that was the delivery mechanism. I had to figure out who did it to who, because that's, and I wrote it very loosely in case it was the opposite, in case, it was Ash doing it to Alex or Alex doing it to Ash. I didn't know, I knew what I wanted it to be, but I wanted to let it be as organic as possible. And, and then I had to rewrite it a couple of times, and I had to actually, thank goodness, I had a big birthday. And so the whole family went to Italy, and we were able to, because my parents, there's no way my mom could sit in coach. So we went first class. So that was a big, not something that we normally do, but we did. It was a huge thing. It was Christmas presents for people. And, it was just this big, huge production. And thank goodness I did, because the way I had set up the seats was wrong. So I had to fix, it just wouldn't have worked the way I had set it up. I had to rewrite it based on, okay, here's how this actually is physically set up, and just weird little things, because I've never flown first class before. I didn't know.
That's not weird, because, oh, how weird is this? Because when I was reading it, I actually stopped, and then I had to go back, and then I had to read it again. How did they look away long enough to drop something, to put something? I actually did logistically. I've flown
Yes.
this class once, but I had to go back and read and go, oh, oh,
Yes.
oh.
And I rewrote the end a couple of times just for the logistics, because
Yes.
one of my best friends and beta readers, Laura Benedict, which if you haven't read, you need to read Laura. You'll love her. She pointed out that the logistics of that weren't working.
Okay.
And so then my editor did as well. And so everybody who read it was like, okay, the logistics aren't working with this. And so I really did, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. How can that work? And eventually I got it, obviously, but that trip really helped.
No kidding.
Really helped.
No kidding.
Really helped, because there are different kinds of first class too. I mean, that's
right.
Delta One is different on each leg, and it was just a thing.
But I appreciate that. That's just one of the many things I appreciate about you and your writing, is it's all very thoughtful, and you can tell, because I am such a visual person. So when I'm reading, and I'm sure many of us do, you escape, you go right into that story. You can feel it. You can feel sitting in the seat. You can imagine what the food tastes like and whatnot. And so I appreciate all of those little bits of detail, because if you're going to find fault with anything or think that doesn't make sense to me, I don't have any of that, because you've thought about all the little pieces. So I
have help with that. I don't always, I have people read things and be like, does this work?
Right.
Does this, because sometimes I just get too close to it, right? And I can't see, and there's something that's bothering me, but I don't know what it is. So I'll give it to Laura and have her read a chapter, and she'll come back and say, well, yeah, that works, or no, it doesn't. What about this? And it takes a village.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it. Do you have visuals for people? Because this book I did. I had a few people who, you'll need to tell your people, because clearly this is going to be a movie. I already decided.
Oh, well, send me the email send me your casting, because no, I really don't. I mean, Blake Lively is kind of the star of every one of my shows.
It has to be. Okay, forgive me. Who's the guy in the
Rumi?
Yeah. Well, you know who that needs to be?
Who?
Rami Malek, who is in.
He's too old.
Oh,
he's too old.
Damn.
Remember, Rumi's just 18.
Oh.
Yeah, he's too old.
The whole book,
but that's good though. If you get a visual for somebody, that's, I want you to connect. That is my goal, right? For every book that I ever write, is for the reader to be able to envision somebody in their head. That's why I try not to say, oh, he looks like Rami Malek.
Yeah.
I want you to be able to envision whoever you want.
This is out. This is your baby.
That's my baby, and it about broke me. I'm still working on next year's book. It's coming out in February. It's called Her Dark Lies. So it's out a little less than a year from now, and I'm still working on it. It has been a difficult book to write. It just doesn't want to do what I want it to do.
Okay.
Once you know what it is, you'll understand why. I've been very deliberate with it. It has to be right. This is one, it just has to be right. Okay. So it's about a destination wedding that goes dreadfully wrong.
I got married at a destination wedding.
A lot of people did. It's amazing.
I cannot wait.
Yeah. So this one's it's a little bit different. But there's a conceit with it. And I don't want to say what that is in case I don't pull it off. I may not pull it off. I may end up It may just be the story about a destination wedding gone wrong. That may just be what it is. And that'll be fine. But if I can pull it off, it's going to be really cool.
That's gotta be pressure. How do you manage that pressure?
Well, I haven't been managing it very well, to be perfectly honest.
Well,
I really haven't.
There's a lot.
This one landed well. Everybody loved it. And sometimes when a book does really, really well, that gets in your head. How can I top it? How can I top that? Everybody loves this. Everybody says this is the best book you've ever written. How do you write something better?
That's not fair to an author.
Well, it makes us level up. It makes us work harder. It makes us try. I'm not going to win the World Series every year, but I'm certainly trying to make the playoffs.
Awesome.
Right? So that's always my goal. Make the playoffs. Make the playoffs. Every once in a while, you're going to win.
I have no worries whatsoever that it'll happen. It'll happen. Like you said at the beginning of this, sometimes it comes to you right at the end, halfway through, or right at the beginning. So it'll come together.
Yeah. I'm changing a character right now, and in so doing, it takes 4 other characters off the board. Okay. So she's getting rolled in. All of those characters are getting rolled into one. So that's, those are those kinds of things that I'm revising as I'm going, which I'm breaking. I'm going to talk about this on my blog this weekend. Okay. I am breaking my rule. Okay. I'm breaking my rule and I'm revising as I'm writing. And it's normally not a good thing to do.
Okay. Okay.
Don't do it.
Okay.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Does it mess you? Like, is it a mental thing that it does to you, or is it?
Oh yeah, yeah, totally. It psychs you out. I've never done it like this before. I've never tried to change stories midstream and all of that. I usually just vomit out a draft, and then I can go back and fix things. And I haven't on this one. And man, have I learned my lesson.
But maybe that's what needs to be happening for them.
I know, but that doesn't make it easy. I want it easy.
It sure doesn't. It doesn't.
I want it easy.
Wine might help. Maybe
whining might help.
Wine and wine.
There's been a lot of whining. A lot of whining.
Okay, and next year, sometime next year?
Oh, absolutely. You're my favorite to sit down with. Absolutely.
I am so excited. Absolutely excited. Good Girls Lie is everywhere now. Oh, in light of the world and everything that's going on, what do you want to say to readers, to fans, to authors who might be launching their book or on book tours or having to cancel book tours? Where do you sit in the world with everything?
Yeah, it's really, really hard. A lot of people's books are coming out right now, and tours are being canceled. And Alma Katsu's tour got canceled midway. Jason Pinner's tour got canceled midway. It's one of those hard things. Ariel Lawhon's tour, I don't know if they've canceled it, but it's certainly going to be affected. And Anne Bogle with her new nonfiction, that's Glennon Doyle, everybody, Lori Gottlieb, everybody's being affected. So if you go to Modern Mrs. Darcy, I know that Anne is putting together a virtual book signing for everybody. So that's definitely one place. I don't know the details, but I did hear that this morning that she's putting something together. Okay. So that's definitely a jumping off point. I think Great Reads on or Great Thoughts on Facebook is doing something. Definitely, if you're going to buy a book, now is the time to not do it digitally, to try to support your local indie and maybe buy a book from them. I will certainly in the blog this weekend have some resources. And I think I've been giving away gift cards to my bookstores that I went to on tour to try to do that. And I'll be doing some more of that. I'm going to do a whole shebang of everybody that I know and love, and do a gift card giveaway for each of them, and try to just drive a little bit of traffic their way. Go to IndieBound and see where your closest local indie is, and just give them a call and say, hey, we're thinking about you. I mean, sometimes even knowing that you're in somebody's heart and mind helps. Absolutely. It doesn't necessarily help the bottom line, but it helps keep spirits alive, and that's what we need right now.
We do, we truly do. And I think
Get your Barnes and Noble too, because Barnes and Noble is in the middle of, they're making some huge changes to try to be a little more accessible to the neighborhoods they're in. They're going to be a little more like a local indie, and a lot of places don't have indies but have Barnes and Noble. So go there.
We are in Canada. We have got Chapters Indigo,
Mm-hmm.
and they are wonderful.
Yep.
We have a neat partnership with them, with my book club, where every month they give away a couple copies, and they do, if any authors are coming through town, they do local signings, and there's book events, and they really do have, being a chain, a very indie feel, which
Yeah.
is just nice. And I think that if there's ever a chance to want to escape what's going on in the world, just
Right.
read.
You need a book.
You need a book.
You need a book, and one book from a brick and mortar. The rest of them you can do digital. It's all good. I get it. It's not a problem. One book this week from a physical store will help. Will help everybody.
Absolutely. Always so much fun to talk to you. Adore you. You are
You
so
too.
talented. You are too hard on yourself. That next book, the next book will come, and we will absolutely be chatting with you again as soon as you're ready.
Thanks, Meg. I appreciate it.
Big hugs.
You too. Keep the faith.
Absolutely. You too, hun. Talk soon.
See ya.
Bye-bye.